Hey Dev Bootcamp, this is my application video. You asked us to do two things, and the first was to teach you something. So behind me I have a styrofoam mock-up of a computer. It looks pretty similar to the one I built, and I'm just going to quickly run down through the components of the computer and what they all do. So there's really only about 9 parts that you need to make a computer work, and we have the first part is the case, and it basically protects all of the other parts from the elements, and typically you'll have some fans in there, and that helps dissipate the heat. This red piece here is the motherboard. The motherboard is basically like the brain of the computer. It's how all of the other components talk to each other, and there are a couple of parts that sit right on top of the motherboard. Chiefly, you have this little black guy here. That's a CPU, a central processing unit, and what that does, it's basically the number cruncher of the computer. It's where all of the math goes on, while you're running programs and everything, and that's what allows you to do all the different things. So on top of that goes a heatsink. It's typically made out of aluminum, and it just sits right on top of it like this. And what that does is it draws heat away from the CPU, because as the CPU is churning out all these calculations, it can get very, very hot. And you don't want it to melt, because if it melts, then it'll malfunction. So what you do is you put a heatsink on it, and it slowly draws that heat away and dissipates it. So the other parts on the motherboard are a GPU, which is the graphics processing unit. What it does is generate a feed of output images to a display. You can also run it to multiple displays, depending on if you have multiple monitors and what type of card that you have. Next part I want to talk about is the RAM, random access memory. It's basically the short-term memory of the computer. If you're in Excel and you input into cell A12, that value is put into the RAM. The computer can then look at it and do things with it. But if you turn the computer off, then that is erased. So computers do have long-term memory, and that's this piece right here. And it's called the hard disk drive, or SSD, or solid-state drive. So what that does is, like I said, it's long-term memory, so you can put files on it, put data, put movies, put music, and then shut the computer off, and it's still going to stay there for your use when you turn the computer back on. And you can also switch it back and forth between computers. The last two parts are the power supply, and it does exactly what its name sounds like it does. It supplies power to the rest of the components of the computer. And then you also have an optical drive, and that allows the computer to read-write CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays. So that wraps up the teaching portion of the video. So you also wanted to have us talk a little bit about ourselves. So my name's Sam Dukes, and I'm 23 years old. When I was in high school, we had a German foreign exchange student come over, and my family hosted him for a year. And he was really the person that sort of inspired me to think about technology and to think about computers, and really got me passionate about it. I was lucky enough to go over to Europe twice. The first time I was with some musicians, and we gave free concerts. If you're wondering what I play, it's the euphonium, and if you don't know what that is, don't worry, you're not in the minority. The second time I went to Europe was with a friend visiting our German foreign exchange student, and we met up in Amsterdam and then did a circuit of Germany, and that was a ton of fun. So I went back to the States, graduated high school, then went to college to get a 4-year degree, because at the time I thought that's the only route available, it's the best route available to get a job doing what I want to do. So I'm going through school, I'm in industrial engineering, and I get to the 4th year, and all of a sudden I take a Visual Basics course, and that same semester I also had a Programming in C course. And what happened was I had my first couple of assignments in Visual Basic, and it was so, I mean, it was the coolest. The rest of the time I was in in college just seemed to be, you got to work towards the test, you got to memorize the stuff for the test, you got to take the test, then you forget the material for the test, and etc., etc. But with the VB, it would seem like so much fun, and I thought, wow, this is what I want to do. Bar none, this is exactly what I want to do. I'm happy doing this. But I was a 4th year student, so I thought, well, crap, I need to get a degree first. So I finished my degree and proposed to my fiance shortly after graduation, and moved down with her to where she goes to medical school. And I just had to take some jobs to make ends meet. But while I was doing that, I was trying to find ways of implementing programming into my everyday life. So when I was a substitute teacher, what I did was came up with a program that kind of looked like the Jeopardy game to get the kids more interested in learning math concepts. And while all this is going on, I applied to Carnegie Mellon University, because in my mind I thought, okay, I'm still in that 4-year school mindset that that's the best thing to do. So I'm going to apply to school for computer science, and I'm going to go and I'm going to be a programmer. But I didn't get accepted. So then I had to switch thought process and think, okay, let's do a little bit more practical. Let's just see if I can get a job. I've been told I have an engineering degree, so that's cool, and it teaches you how to critically think, and you really learn your job on the job. So I applied to a software company that makes electronic medical records, and well, the software anyways. And the interview went great, but then I had an assessment, and it had programming problems on it. And in my head, I knew the solution, or how I wanted the solution logically to, go step by step, but I couldn't put that into code. So I didn't get hired. So there's crushing defeat number 2 in as many months. And, I didn't get hired, but it's not going to stop me. I want to code, and I think that's where Dev Bootcamp comes in. Had I had Dev Bootcamp, I think I would have been a shoo-in for that position. So I'm hoping that with the intensive program that you have, which I think is an excellent idea, full-time immersion is really the only way to do things. I really like Sharif's analogy to learning a foreign language, because I was really big into learning German. That's exactly how you need to do it. It's the best way to do it. So I really, really believe in this method, and I would love to be a part of Dev Bootcamp. So I would really like to continue this conversation with a Skype interview. I look forward to hearing back from you, and I really appreciate the time that you're taking to view my application and to watch my video. Thanks.